Hello everyone, I'm home. Welcome back. You know how I told you I was toying with the idea of having the last picture in my video be the first picture in my next video so that you guys could keep track of how the videos came along? Well, I've decided I probably can't do that all the time because I'm going to have my pictures coordinate with what the video is about. So I might do it sometimes, but not always.
Good morning. It's about 7 a.m. and I'm sitting out here in the quiet. Of course, now the semis will start coming up the highway and traffic will start going by. But I wanted to pop on here and show you guys some of the creative things I did this week. I did a few projects. I'm pricing and packing things, getting ready to take them to Margie's Festival this weekend. And I've had a really busy week, but the weather is absolutely beautiful and I'm getting a lot done. Now, I've been out here the last couple mornings and haven't seen hardly any birds at these bird feeders. And I got up early this morning and was at the kitchen window, and there were about 25 birds out in my backyard. They were everywhere, bluebirds, yellow and purple birds, some birds I had never seen before. They were just beautiful, and they are feasting on the sunflower buffet in the backyard. They have almost eaten all of those sunflower seeds out of those dried out sunflowers. It was so funny. I thought, guys, you've got a bunch of bird seed out front. I keep filling it and you won't come. So, oh, there's one. There's one. But that long bird feeder that's hanging from the wooden one, I filled it up like a week and a half ago and it's not emptied yet. So I didn't fill it back up until I think we're going to get some rain Friday, and I'll wait till after it rains. But that little shiny heart that's spinning around, my nephew gave me that, and I hung it there because it's so pretty. But then I thought maybe that movement of that heart's making them not come around, but I think it's the sunflower seeds in the backyard. They're having fun. So next year, can you imagine how many sunflowers I'm going to have coming up all over my yard where these birds have dropped the seeds, which is fine with me. I don't mind at all. But Margie's Festival's this weekend. We're supposed to have nice weather. It's supposed to rain on Friday, but the festival's on Saturday and Sunday. So I'm hoping that it doesn't get too wet and it gives us trouble. But I'm looking forward to that. I've worked on a few projects, been packing things for her festival, and the weather here has just been magnificent. My husband's been painting our fence and scraping it, and it's looking really pretty. We have to paint it about every 2 years, and this was the year. But he's loving this weather. I also wanted to tell you guys that I told you during the Dan Patch video that we were going to go to the Dan Patch Festival, or try to go to it, and film it for you guys and share it. But Sunday evening, we had worked out in the yard all day, and we'd had company, and there was a lot going on. And I said, oh my gosh, we forgot about Dan Patch Days, so we didn't go. And I'm sorry, that would have been a nice video to share with you guys what their festival's like. I'm sure it was really nice. And I forgot all about it. So that happens too. So I just wanted to tell you guys that I did not get to the Dan Patch Festival. And after I made that last little video out here by the bird feeder, I sat out here for another half hour or so, and I still haven't seen but 2 birds come to the bird feeder. So they're out back finishing off the sunflower seeds. And I wanted you to know I'm going to show some pictures of the seeds I've gathered, and I'm waiting for zinnia seeds so I can send those along with the seeds that I'm sending out to everybody. And they're going to be a couple more weeks, but you can't plant them till next spring anyway, so you'll get your seeds, but it'll be after I get the zinnia seeds so I can include those in your package. So enjoy the rest of the video.
So my petunias are starting to look a little bit scraggly, but they keep producing new blooms. I've been watering them really good. I don't put out a lot of annuals because I have so many perennials that come up, but every day these petunias just keep bringing on more blooms and surprising me. I just can't get rid of them until they're on their last leg. And this sunflower, he's dying and old bent over, but I think they're just as pretty when they're dried. This is the 10-foot sunflower that had so many blooms. It's still having some blooms come up in the middle. These bloomed just yesterday, and then I think they look just as pretty from behind as they do in the front. I just love my flowers, and I like them all the way around. The zinnias are just beautiful, and I'm going to tell you later on in the video that I'm waiting for these to go to seed so I can include some seeds in the ones that everybody wanted. And then the morning glories have totally taken over the bell pole, which is about 10 feet tall, maybe 9 foot. And the little horse, his little head got covered up. I had to uncover him a little bit. And my hummingbird feeder got covered, but they're pretty much onto the flowers now. And the seed pods for the morning glories weren't drying out very good, and I thought it was going to take a while. But then I went over to the other side of the plant where the sun shines on it a lot, and I saw that those pods were dried out. And so when you go to touch those little pods, they break open immediately. So I put the palm of my hand under them and catch all the little black seeds. And as you can see, they fall all over the place. And that's why I have morning glories coming up all over my yard. They're coming up in places I didn't even know that the seeds went. But I guess the birds spread them around. And these are the hollyhock seeds. Now I don't have a lot of hollyhock blooms, so I don't have a lot of seeds this year, but I'll have more next year. But I'll send out what I have, and they'll usually bloom the second year. And then this little butterfly is on this bush every day and doesn't mind a bit if I walk right up to it and take pictures and stand there and watch it. It's busy on that flower. It's one of my sedum plants, and sedum is one of the greatest things to grow. You can pull a stalk of that out of the ground and pop it in anywhere and it'll grow. This is outside my bedroom window. This bird's out there on my coneflowers every day, and I take the picture through the window because if I go outside he flies away, but he's beautiful. And of course, we're in rural Warren County. Rural is hard to say. We got corn and beans all dried out and ready to harvest, and in some places they're already harvesting, and it really affects my allergies, but that's what we do here in Warren County. We grow corn and beans, and we need to. Remember the hope chest, the lane cedar chest that I got at the estate sale? I went over it. It's missing a lot of veneer. It's got a lot of scratches and dings. I sanded it a little bit. It just wasn't going to be able to be fixed easily. Someone had sawed off the corners of the legs, and someone had said maybe they did that so that the chest would set up against the wall better, but these feet set in a little bit too much. It doesn't hinder the way it sets up against the wall, so I don't think that was it. I don't know, unless they just wanted square feet. I don't know why they did that. So I don't like to paint furniture unless it's a lost cause, and I think this piece was. So I put all my colors together. I gave it a few shots of black paint to give it some depth and some texture, and I decided to do a mixed media paint treatment on it. I used baking soda and gesso and paint, and this little piece had some little cracks and crevices in it that the paint treatment totally covered up. And I went over the whole piece with browns and beiges and creams, and I thought about keeping the top the same color, but it had a lot of veneer missing from it. So it's an old piece, and it's going to be what it's going to be. But I think I saved it. I like the way it turned out. This is before I put the color on it. You're going to hear a tractor in the background. There's one in the field next to us. But I decided to use a mixed media paint treatment on this old chest. It's not in the best of shape, and the paint technique hit a lot of the flaws. I did reattach some of the slices to the feet. It doesn't look perfect, but this is an old chest. It's an old lane cedar chest, and it's in really good condition inside, but the outside had a lot of flaws. So whenever I do these kinds of treatments, a lot of times I'll use silk flowers or beads, clay flowers that I make, different kinds of embellishments, and add to it, but I don't think I'm going to. After I got this all painted, I like the way it turned out. Now it's got to dry and cure for several hours, so I will put a finishing coat on it, and that will blend all the colors really nice, and I can't wait to see how it turns out. I like the way the keyhole looked, so I left it the way it was. I'm not going to paint it gold or pewter or anything like that. I'm going to leave it the way it is. And this little piece here on the front had some little splits and cracks in it, but the paint technique hit them perfectly. I did patch the pieces where the veneer was missing a few places, but not too much. I wanted to leave it as authentic as it was. So I'm going to let it dry for probably a couple of days, and then I'll put a treatment on it, and we'll see what happens. I just thought if I was a young girl and I was going to use this as a hope chest, it would be really neat to have like a fantasy fairy tale like hope chest. So that's where my color inspiration came from, and I ended up spritzing it with
Jim Beam alcohol whiskey. We had a little bottle that someone gave us at Christmas time. It was like a little miniature bottle. It was in the refrigerator since Christmas. And I usually splash my paintings with alcohol anyway, and I didn't have any. So I just put some Jim Beam in a water bottle and spritzed it, and it gave me just exactly the desired look I was looking for. So I'm gonna get off of here and get back to the video, but I just wanted you guys to see this before the finish got put on.
And then I like to take my old spices that have been around too long and I sprinkle those into my paint. It adds a lot of texture and depth to a mixed media project. This was my paint that I sprinkled some of the spices on. You can also use dirt, you can use twigs, you can use just about anything. And yes, this is one of my cobalt tumblers I'm using for paint. I dropped one of my tumblers and cracked it. It still held water, but I couldn't use it, so I used it for that. And I don't know, I was happy with how the paint turned out. It's going to look so much prettier when I put the last coat of polyurethane over it and seal everything in. And I think I'm not going to go, I was going to first go with some flowers and put a little hook on the flowers and hook them underneath the lid so that they draped over the side and made like a little arch. But I decided I'm not going to do that. The flowers laying on the top look just fine. So if you wanted to decorate it that way, you could. But I'm just going to leave it the way it is. I might put those on just to decorate it a little. And then the shoes that I showed you in the last video that I've worn all summer. They're kids. I got them for $10 at Burlington, and they're suede, and they had some little nicks and scratches on them. There's a little brown spot on one of the toes I can't get off. So you know how I am. I'll paint anything. I painted the shoes. I painted them with a color called Orange Spice. I watered down the paint and put the first coat on watered down, and then I put 2 coats of Orange Spice on it. And then I washed the shoestrings because they were dirty. And after the paint dried really good after a couple of days, I sealed it with the shoe stuff that you seal so that the water doesn't damage your shoes. I'll paint anything. I've painted so many shoes. These shoes will last me all through the fall and probably next fall too. I scrubbed the white part real good, the rubber part with a toothbrush, and they're going to be fine. They were shoes that I wouldn't have worn again, so I just painted them. And you can do that. I've painted jeans and shirts and everything else. So they went from a pair of kids that I wore a lot this summer to a pair of kids that I'm going to wear a lot this fall and next fall too. And then the little pieces that I found along the curbside that I was telling you about that I had an idea for, I wanted them because the first thing I thought of was one of my doll houses. I wanted to kind of decorate the fireplace for fall. So I picked up all these pieces and I made an arch for the dollhouse fireplace. You can't hardly see the little pieces anymore because I ended up putting a lot of little, I don't know what those are, little pieces of greenery and little pieces of fall colors and stuff. And I glued those all to it and decorated my mantle. This is in one of my farmhouses. And that's one of my postcards, a Catherine Klein postcard that I had to shrink down a lot to get into that frame, but I love the color of the orange. I think they're poppies, maybe. Pansies or poppies. Catherine Klein's one of my favorites, and whenever I find a postcard or anything by Catherine Klein, I buy it, and you should be on the lookout for her stuff because it is beautiful. They're very vintage and very beautiful for fall. And you know how I love my orange roses, and any orange flower or pink flower I love. I love my orange roses so much. I'm tooling through the internet the other night, and this big picture popped up with orange roses on it. So you know I am manifesting that thing. I have never seen anything like that with 2 different colors of orange roses. So I got to manifest that and be on the lookout for it. If you guys ever see one, let me know. So, as always, I ask you to follow me on Instagram at MarcyJo631, where you can talk to me in messages and ask for seeds if you'd like some. And I want to thank you guys, and please like and subscribe. And I love you so much, and I hope you're inspired by this fall weather like I am, and you're just full of creativity.